My name is Seraphine Caldwell, and I'm 27 years old. Austin, Texas, 2022. A city buzzing with startups, investors, and the endless hum of ambition. It was supposed to be my big break. I wasn't just another face in the crowded tech scene. I had spent years writing every line of code, building a platform that could change how small businesses manage their finances. To me, it wasn't just an app. It was my proof that I belonged. And then there was Ethan, my co-founder, my friend, or so I thought. We had started together in a tiny coffee shop on the South Congress Avenue. Shared laptops, shared late-night energy drinks, shared dreams. I trusted him with everything, my ideas, my vulnerabilities, even the passwords to my repos. He made me believe we were equals. But betrayal doesn't come with warning signs. It comes like a knife slipped quietly between your ribs. It started with whispers. Investors who had once promised to circle back suddenly stopped answering my emails. Startup friends congratulated me on a pitch I had never made. At first, I brushed it off. Austin's tech world was small. Maybe they were confusing us. Then, one Thursday night, I opened my inbox and froze. Subject line: Ethan's demo day presentation tomorrow. Attached was a PDF. My code, my diagrams, my vision. Every sleepless night I'd poured into this project, stamped with his name. I felt my stomach twist. My chest tightened until breathing hurt. I whispered aloud, as if saying the words might make them less real. He stole it. He stole everything. For hours, I just sat there, staring at the screen. My apartment was silent except for the faint hum of my desktop fan. My mind replayed every moment. His easy smile, the late-night pizza boxes, the way he'd promised, "We're in this together, Sarah." Together? No, I realized then. He had been in it for himself all along. The next morning, I went to the venue. The sun was sharp, the Austin air heavy with summer heat. Inside the demo hall, the crowd buzzed. Investors in tailored suits, founders in hoodies, cameras flashing. Ethan stood on stage, confident, charming, and I watched as my creation danced across the screen. My code, my features, my pitch. His words painted him as the genius, the visionary. The audience applauded. Investors leaned in. My hands trembled. It wasn't just anger, it was grief. Grief for every line of code I had written believing we were a team. Grief for the trust I had given so freely. A voice in my head screamed, "Do something, stand up, call him out." But another voice, quieter and crueler, whispered, "No one will believe you. You're just the girl behind the screen. He's the one they see." I left before the applause ended. Outside, Austin's skyline blurred through my tears. I wanted to scream, but all I could do was whisper to myself over and over, "He can't get away with this. He won't." I didn't know how yet, but I knew this wasn't the end of the story. Because if Ethan thought stealing my work was the end of me, he was about to learn I build systems. I debug errors. And I was about to debug him. I couldn't sleep that night. The image of Ethan on that stage haunted me. Every cheer, every handshake, every camera flash. It all replayed in my head like a cruel highlight reel. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, asking myself the same question over and over, what am I going to do? By morning, I had dark circles under my eyes and a storm in my chest. I dragged myself to my desk, opened my laptop, and stared at the code repository we had built together. Line after line of my work stared back at me, as if begging me not to let this theft go unanswered. That's when it hit me. If Ethan was going to steal my work, then I needed proof that it was mine. I opened old commits, screenshots, and Slack messages, evidence of every late-night push, every diagram I had drawn, every piece of the puzzle that came from me. I started building a folder. I labeled it Truth. Hours passed. My apartment floor was littered with coffee cups and sticky notes, my whiteboard covered with timelines and arrows. It wasn't just coding anymore, it was war strategy. But I had one problem. Ethan wasn't stupid. He had locked down the GitHub repo, changed admin permissions, and conveniently erased my name from recent commits. He wasn't just stealing, he was rewriting history. I clenched my fists. How many people had already believed him? How many investors had already seen him as the genius I wasn't allowed to be? That night, I decided to confront him. I found him at a bar downtown, one of those trendy startup watering holes filled with neon lights. overpriced cocktails, and people bragging about seed funding like it was the lottery. Ethan was there, laughing with a group of angel investors, his arm slung casually over the back of a chair. I walked up, my pulse hammering in my ears. "Ethan!" He turned, his smile flickering for just a second before snapping back into place. "Sarah, you made it." Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just watched him rob me in broad daylight. "We need to talk," I said, my voice sharp enough to slice glass. The investors glanced at us, curious. Ethan laughed it off. "Of course, let's step outside." The night air was hot and heavy. Streetlights buzzed. My hands shook, but I forced myself to hold his gaze. "You stole my code," I spat. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he leaned against the wall, smug as ever. "Sarah, come on, it's not stealing. It's our project. You should be thanking me. Without me, no one would have even noticed it." My jaw tightened. "That's a lie. I built this. Every feature, every fix. And you know it." He smirked. "Maybe you did. But who's gonna believe you? I'm the one in the spotlight now. You? You're just the coder in the shadows. Face it, you don't have the voice for this world." The words cut deeper than any knife. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. He was right. In their eyes, I was invisible. I left that night shaking with rage. I had confronted him, and I had lost. But walking back to my apartment under the glow of street lamps, one thought burned hotter than the Texas heat. If the spotlight wouldn't see me, then I'd make sure the truth forced its way into the light. I didn't know how yet, but the first battle was over, and the war had just begun. The next few days felt like a blur. I moved through Austin like a ghost, coffee in hand, eyes glued to my laptop, headphones blasting lo-fi beats to drown out the noise of the world. But underneath the routine, something darker brewed. I was no longer just a coder, I was a hunter. The folder I had built, Truth, grew heavier with every file I added. Old GitHub commits, screenshots of Slack conversations, dated design drafts. I dug through emails and found time-stamped attachments, proving I had built core features weeks before Ethan ever touched them. But evidence wasn't enough. I knew how this world worked. Investors didn't care about truth. They cared about perception. And Ethan? He was charming, smooth-talking, photogenic, the face every VC wanted to put on a magazine cover. I needed someone who believed me, someone inside this cutthroat scene. So I called Layla, an old friend from university who had become a UX researcher at a mid-sized startup downtown. We met at our old spot, a taco truck parked near Zilker Park. She raised an eyebrow as I laid it all out. Ethan's theft, the pitch, the investors eating out of his hand. "Damn, Sarah," she muttered, biting into her taco. "That's brutal." "I need help," I said. My voice cracked, just slightly. "I have proof, but no one's going to listen unless I make them. He's erased me from the repo. He's already convincing people I'm just the sidekick." Layla leaned back, studying me. "You're not his sidekick. You're the engine. Everyone in our class knew you were the one who made things work." Her words lit a small spark in me. Then she smirked. "Lucky for you, my cousin works PR for one of the VC firms Ethan's been courting. And trust me, if there's one thing investors hate, it's scandal." For the first time in days, I smiled. "Layla, you're a lifesaver." But part of me hesitated. If I played this wrong, I wouldn't just take Ethan down, I'd take myself down too. That night, I worked late, piecing together a timeline. Every commit, every feature, every conversation. It looked less like a coding project now and more like a case file ready for trial. At 2 a.m., I leaned back in my chair, exhausted but wired. And that's when I heard the ping. A new email, subject line, urgent, Ethan's NDA. My stomach dropped. It was from an anonymous sender. Attached was a contract. An NDA Ethan had sent out to new investors, warning them not to discuss confidential intellectual property. My intellectual property. I opened the PDF, and there it was, language written to silence anyone who might question him. The trap was tightening, but so was my resolve. I whispered to myself, staring at the glowing screen. "You want to play dirty, Ethan? Fine, I'll play smarter." I started drafting a plan. Step 1, gather allies. Step 2, leak the cracks in his perfect facade. Step 3 was still hazy, but the war map was forming in my head. And as I stared at the anonymous email again, a thought chilled me. Someone else out there wanted him exposed too. But who, and why now? The pieces were moving, and the game had only just begun. Layla wasn't exaggerating. Scandal was poison in the startup world. The next day, we sat in her tiny apartment downtown, laptops open, empty iced coffee cups scattered across the table. She tapped her keyboard and said, "My cousin can slip this into the right inboxes. Nothing explosive yet, just whispers. Enough to make investors curious." I hesitated, staring at the folder on my screen. Truth, every file, every screenshot, every timestamp screamed to be unleashed. But the strategist in me held back. Not all at once. We need to show cracks, not detonate the bomb yet. Layla grinned. Exactly. Doubt spreads faster than certainty. So we crafted the first move. An anonymous tip. Just enough proof to make investors wonder if Ethan's golden boy glow was hiding shadows. By evening, the email was sent. My heart raced as if I had just released a wild animal into the world. And then, silence. 2 days passed. Ethan's face still popped up on LinkedIn posts. His name still on blogs celebrating the next big founder. Each headline felt like a slap. I started doubting myself. What if no one cares? What if the truth isn't enough? Then Layla called. Her voice was sharp, urgent. "Sarah, you need to see this." She texted me a screenshot. It was a VC forum thread. Investors whispering, speculating. The words blurred together as I scrolled. Code ownership dispute? Hearing conflicting stories. Is Ethan as clean as he looks? My chest tightened. It was working, the first crack. But then another ping, an email, same anonymous sender as before. Subject, he knows. Attached was a photo, grainy, taken through glass. Ethan at a table with 2 men I didn't recognize. Papers spread out between them. The caption beneath, damage control meeting. My blood ran cold. Whoever was helping me wasn't just digging through emails. They were following Ethan, watching him. I showed Layla. Her eyes widened. "This is intense. Do you know who this is?" I shook my head. "No, but they want him exposed as much as I do." Layla frowned. "Or they want you to do their dirty work." Her words stuck with me. Who was behind the anonymous tips? And why did they care so much about Ethan? That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone else had entered the game. And in a game like this, allies and enemies looked far too similar. But one thing was clear. Ethan was spooked. And fear was the first crack I needed. The whispers were growing louder. By the end of the week, Ethan wasn't smiling as brightly in his LinkedIn posts. The captions felt forced. His eyes, once smug and untouchable, now carried a flicker of unease. I could smell blood in the water. Layla urged me on. "We need to push harder. Small leaks make ripples, but big leaks? They make waves." So we planned our first public strike. Layla's cousin arranged for an industry blog, popular among investors and founders, to receive an anonymous package. Excerpts of code commits, Slack timestamps, and my name stamped all over them. Not enough to prove everything, but enough to question Ethan's clean narrative. The article dropped on a Monday morning. Headline: Rising Star or Code Thief? Questions surround Ethan Cross's startup. My hands shook as I read it. The article didn't accuse outright, but it planted seeds of doubt. Investors hated uncertainty, and doubt spread faster than wildfire. Within hours, Ethan's inbox must have been exploding, because by noon, his PR team had pushed out a statement. "These rumors are false and malicious. Our vision remains strong. We will not be distracted by baseless claims." Baseless, the word burned. But the comments beneath the blog told a different story. Anonymous developers chimed in. "Funny, those commits look familiar." One investor wrote, "If there's even a 1% chance of fraud, I'm out." It was working. The mask was cracking. That evening, as I sat in my apartment, my phone buzzed. Another email from the anonymous sender. Subject: not enough. Attached was a video. My breath caught as I hit play. Grainy footage again. Ethan in a closed-door meeting, snapping at his PR team. His voice sharp, angry. "Find out who's leaking this. I don't care what it takes. I want her silenced." Her. He meant me. I froze, my fingers tightening around the phone. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just business to him anymore. He wanted me erased. I forwarded the clip to Layla. She called instantly. "Sarah, this is serious. If he suspects you—" "I know," I whispered. My throat was dry. Silence stretched between us until she finally said, "So what's the plan?" I stared at the dark window, Ethan's voice still echoing in my ears. The plan? For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about proving I was right. It was about survival. The video of Ethan demanding that I be silenced played on a loop in my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his voice, sharp, venomous, full of the kind of confidence only a liar could carry. I couldn't afford to wait anymore. So I went on the offensive. Layla and I crafted a second strike, bigger than the first. We pulled together a tighter package. Code commits showing my authorship, Slack conversations with Ethan asking me for fixes, and even dated diagrams pulled from my Google Drive. We leaked it, this time not to a blog, but directly to a journalist from a national tech outlet. Someone who had been itching for a scandal. 2 days later, the article exploded online. Ethan Cross accused of intellectual property theft in high-profile startup. My phone buzzed nonstop. Old classmates messaged me. "This is about you, isn't it?" Strangers on Twitter debated whether I was a genius betrayed or a bitter ex-partner. For the first time, Ethan was on the defensive. His statement this time was angrier, colder. "These false accusations are being fueled by a disgruntled former collaborator. We will pursue legal action if necessary." Legal action. The words stabbed at me. My hands shook as I read the statement. Could he really sue me? Could he turn this against me? That night, I got my answer. As I walked into my apartment building, a man in a suit was waiting in the lobby. He handed me an envelope without a word. Inside, a cease and desist letter. My knees went weak. Ethan wasn't bluffing. He wanted to crush me legally. I called Layla, panic lacing my voice. "He's trying to bury me with lawsuits." "Then you fight back," she said firmly. "He's scared, Sarah. Scared men make mistakes. That's when we hit hardest." Her words steadied me. But later, alone in my apartment, I stared at the letter until the words blurred. For the first time, fear sank its claws into me. And then, another email pinged. Subject: "Don't fold." It was from the anonymous sender again. Attached was another file, this time a bank statement. Ethan's name. Payments routed from the startup's funds to a private account in the Caymans. Fraud, embezzlement. I pressed a hand over my mouth, my heart pounding. This wasn't just about me anymore. If this got out, Ethan wouldn't just lose investors. He could lose everything, his freedom, his future. But using this meant stepping into dangerous territory. If I leaked financial fraud, I wouldn't just be fighting Ethan. I'd be putting a target on my back. I closed my laptop slowly, the room suddenly too quiet. The battle had escalated, and now the war was about to turn deadly serious. The bank statement sat on my screen like a live grenade. Every number, every transaction screamed corruption. Ethan wasn't just a thief. He was a fraudster siphoning money straight out of his own company. But holding it felt dangerous. If I leaked this, Ethan wouldn't just come after me with lawyers. He'd come after me with everything he had. Layla's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. We were on a late-night call. "Sarah, this is dynamite. If this goes public, Ethan is finished." I pressed my forehead into my palm. "Or I'm finished. Think about it, Layla. I use this and suddenly I'm not the betrayed coder anymore. I'm the whistleblower who ruined $1 million startup. They'll blacklist me from the industry." Silence. Then her voice, firm but gentle. "Maybe, but what's worse? Living in his shadow forever or taking the risk to end him?" Her words lingered. The next morning, I noticed something strange. As I left my apartment, a black sedan idled across the street. The same car was there when I came back that evening. Its windows were tinted, faceless, watching. My stomach twisted. Was Ethan really following me? Later that night, another email pinged. The anonymous sender. Subject: "Time is running out." This time, no attachments. Just a message. "He's already moving money again. You wait too long, he buries everything. Act." I stared at the words, unease crawling up my spine. Whoever this was, they weren't helping out of kindness. They were pushing me, forcing my hand. Layla agreed. This person, they want Ethan exposed, sure, but what if they want something else too? Maybe they benefit if he burns. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because deep down, I wondered if she was right. Was I just a pawn in someone else's game? But then, another blow landed. Scrolling through Twitter, I saw a post. Ethan smiling in front of reporters, holding a contract. The caption: Crosstech closes 5 million seed round despite rumors. My blood boiled. Investors still backed him. They still believed his story. And worse, his caption under the photo was a knife twisted into my chest. Don't believe everything you read. The truth always wins. The irony nearly made me laugh. I shut my laptop, hands trembling. Ethan was getting stronger. If I hesitated, he would bury me completely. And so, staring into the dark of my apartment, I whispered to myself, "It's time to stop waiting. It's time to strike." I didn't sleep the night I saw Ethan's $5 million victory splashed across Twitter. His grin haunted me. The world believed him, believed his lie, and I couldn't let it stand any longer. The embezzlement files sat in my folder like a loaded gun. Bank statements, wire transfers, offshore accounts. If I used them, there'd be no going back. Layla was against it. "Sarah, this is nuclear. If you drop this, you're not just outing him, you're torching the whole startup. Collateral damage will be huge." I stared at her across the tiny cafe table, my iced latte sweating onto the wood. He left me no choice. He stole my work, my future, and now he's stealing millions. If I don't act, he wins everything. Her eyes softened, but she didn't argue. She knew I was right. That night, I sent the files. Not to a blog, not to a forum, straight to a journalist at a national financial paper. The kind that makes CEOs panic and investors pull the plug overnight. For 2 days, nothing. My nerves shredded with every passing hour. Was the journalist even going to run it? Or had Ethan already gotten to them? Then the headline hit. Crosstech founder Ethan Cross under fire for alleged embezzlement. The article laid it all out. Transfers, Cayman accounts, shell companies. Ethan's golden boy image cracked open like a rotten egg. Twitter exploded. Reddit lit up with threads dissecting every detail. Investors rushed to distance themselves. The startup world smelled blood. For a moment, I felt it. Justice. Sweet, undeniable justice. But it didn't last. That evening, as I walked up to my apartment, my door was ajar. My stomach dropped. Slowly, I pushed it open. The place was trashed, papers shredded, laptop overturned. Someone had been here. On my desk sat a single sheet of paper. In neat typed font, just 2 words. "Stop, now." My hands shook. My breath came shallow. Ethan wasn't just fighting me in the media anymore. He was in my home. I backed against the wall, heart pounding. For the first time I realized, this wasn't just about revenge. This was survival. The note sat on my desk. The 2 words seared into my brain. Stop. Now. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of the fridge, the faint footsteps in the hall, made my heart race. My sanctuary had been violated. I couldn't stay there anymore. The next morning, I packed a bag. Just the essentials: laptop, chargers, a stack of evidence, and a burner phone I'd bought months ago on a whim. I left my apartment behind, locking the door like I was sealing away a part of myself. Layla was horrified when I showed up at her place. "Jesus, Sarah, this is escalating too fast. You can't just—" "I have no choice," I cut her off, voice hoarse. "He's inside my home now. He's not just protecting his image. He's threatening me." She hugged me, her voice trembling. "Then we have to be smarter. One mistake, and you're done." That night, as I huddled on her couch, my laptop pinged. Another email from the anonymous sender. Subject: "Do you understand now?" I opened it. Attached was a dossier, files I hadn't seen before. Photos of Ethan at luxury restaurants, meetings with shady-looking men, receipts for consulting services that smelled like cover-ups. But what stopped me cold was the last page, a grainy photograph of me, leaving my apartment, laptop in hand. My blood turned to ice. Whoever this anonymous ally was, they weren't just watching Ethan. They were watching me. I slammed the laptop shut, my hands shaking. "Layla, it's not just Ethan. Someone else is pulling strings. They know where I am." Layla's face went pale. "Sarah, you need to decide. Are they protecting you or manipulating you?" Her words hit me like a hammer. I'd been so focused on Ethan. I hadn't stopped to question the person feeding me all this. Were they really helping me, or just using me to burn him down? I looked out the window at the dark Austin skyline, my reflection staring back at me. One thing was clear. I couldn't trust anyone anymore. Not Ethan. Not the investors. Not even my so-called ally in the shadows. If I wanted to end this, I'd have to do it on my own terms. The endgame was coming, and I was done playing nice. By now, I was done running. Ethan had taken everything, my code, my credit, my peace of mind. He had even sent shadows into my home. But if he wanted a war, I would give him one. I began preparing my endgame. Step 1. Gather everything into a single package. Not just the code commits, not just the Slack messages, not just the bank statements. All of it. A story no one could ignore. Step 2. Deliver it where Ethan couldn't twist it. Not a blog, not a forum, not whispers, but a stage so public that even he couldn't bury me. Austin's annual tech demo week was days away. Investors, journalists, founders. It was the heartbeat of the scene. Ethan was already scheduled to speak there, flaunting his vision. Perfect. I would confront him on his own stage. Layla thought I was insane. Sarah, that's suicide. He'll have lawyers crawling all over you. Security will throw you out before you get 2 words in. Then I'll make sure they hear me before anyone can stop me. My voice didn't even tremble. For the first time, I sounded like someone who believed. That night, as I rehearsed in Layla's kitchen, another email came. Subject, it's time. But this one was different. No attachments, no threats. Just a meeting location, a cafe on the east side. Tomorrow at noon. Layla read over my shoulder. Sarah, this could be a trap. I exhaled slowly, my stomach in knots. Or it's the only chance to finally see who's been feeding me this. The next day I went. The cafe was nearly empty, sunlight spilling through dusty windows. I scanned the tables, heart pounding, until I saw a figure in the corner. A woman, sharp suit, dark hair pulled back, laptop open. She looked up, eyes locking on mine. You're late, she said calmly, like she'd known me for years. I froze, every nerve in my body screaming. This was the ghost who had been haunting my inbox. Who are you? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She leaned forward, a small smile tugging at her lips. Someone who wants Ethan destroyed as much as you do. I stared at the woman across the table, my chest tight. Who are you? I repeated, sharper this time. She closed her laptop with a quiet snap, her eyes never leaving mine. My name is Marisol Vega. Ethan knows me well, too well. The name didn't ring a bell, but the way she said it, like it was laced with venom, made me lean closer. What do you mean? She gave a humorless laugh. 2 years ago, I was where you are now. Ethan stole from me too. Different project, same playbook. I built a data analytics prototype. He pitched it as his own, pocketed the funding, and left me with nothing. I lost my job, my reputation, nearly everything. Her voice trembled for just a second, then hardened. So when I saw your story, I knew. He hasn't changed. He's just upgraded his scams. The words hit me like a gut punch. Ethan wasn't just a thief. He was a pattern, a predator. Marisol slid a flash drive across the table. Everything I've sent you came from my investigation. Emails, bank statements, photos. I've been tracking him for months, waiting for the right moment. But I can't bring him down alone. He's too careful. I picked up the drive, my hand shaking. So you've been watching me too? Her gaze softened, just slightly. I had to make sure you were serious, to make sure you wouldn't fold under pressure. The image of that photo of me leaving my apartment flashed in my mind, bile rising in my throat. You had someone break into my home. She shook her head sharply. Not me. That wasn't my work. Whoever did that wasn't me. Her words rattled me to the core. If it wasn't Marisol, then who else was watching? I leaned back, exhaling hard. So what's your plan? She smiled, sharp as glass. The same as yours. Tech demo week. He'll be at center stage, all eyes on him. That's when we tear the mask off. I swallowed, adrenaline rushing through me. This was it. The end game. But a part of me whispered, was I trading one puppet master for another? Still, one thing was certain. Ethan's stage was about to become his downfall. Tech demo week. The convention center pulsed with energy. Hundreds of founders buzzing, investors flashing their badges, cameras ready to capture the next big thing. I could feel the air thick with ambition, greed, and fear. And in the middle of it all was Ethan. Polished suit, confident smile, the darling of Austin's tech scene. He was minutes away from stepping onto the stage. Marisol and I stood in the back, our laptops synced, our evidence packaged. Everything was ready. The USB in my hand felt like a weapon. Layla squeezed my shoulder. You don't have to do this. I looked at her, my voice steady. Yes, I do. The lights dimmed. Ethan strutted onto the stage. Applause erupted. He launched into his speech, smooth as ever, selling the dream. And then it was my turn. I walked toward the stage, my heart pounding. Security noticed me, but before they could move, Marisol hit a key on her laptop. The giant screen behind Ethan flickered. His slides vanished, replaced by a flood of files. GitHub commits, Slack conversations, bank transfers to Cayman accounts. Evidence, undeniable and raw. Gasps rippled through the audience. Ethan spun around, his face draining of color. "This is a lie," he shouted, his voice cracking. "She's unstable. But it was too late. His voice was drowned out by the evidence rolling across the screen. Timestamp after timestamp. Signature after signature. I grabbed a mic from the stunned moderator, my voice ringing through the hall. "My name is Seraphine Caldwell. I built the code Ethan stole. And now you're seeing the rest. The fraud, the theft, the lies. This is who you've been investing in." Silence followed. Heavy, crushing. Then came the murmurs. Angry, disbelieving, betrayed. Investors stormed out. Cameras flashed wildly. Ethan's mask shattered. He lunged toward me, eyes wild, but security tackled him before he reached the edge of the stage. His shouts turned desperate, echoing through the hall. "She's lying! She's nothing! I'm the future!" But no one believed him anymore. I stepped back, the mic trembling in my hand, my chest rising and falling. For the first time in months, I felt it. Relief, freedom, justice. Marisol appeared beside me, her eyes hard but proud. "It's over. You did it." Did I? In that moment, I realized something. Revenge wasn't about destroying Ethan. It was about reclaiming myself. My voice, my power. The crowd roared with questions, cameras flashing in my face. But their noise faded into the background as I whispered to myself, "You don't get to write my story, Ethan. I do." And with that, I walked off the stage, not as a victim, but as someone who had finally won. The silence after Tech Demo Week didn't last long. Within hours, Ethan's name was everywhere. Headlines screaming fraud, investors pulling out, lawsuits piling up. His fall was brutal, public, and irreversible. And I should have felt satisfied, but revenge doesn't end clean. I spent days giving statements to journalists, meeting lawyers, and answering emails from strangers who called me inspiring. But at night, lying awake in Layla's apartment, I couldn't shake the lingering unease. Who had really been pulling the strings? Marisol appeared again, this time with a small smile that seemed lighter, freer. "You did it," she said. "He won't hurt anyone else." But I had to ask, why now? Why me? Why not take him down yourself? Her eyes dropped for the first time. "Because I couldn't. I tried once and I failed. I lost everything. But you?" She looked at me, fierce. "You had the fire I lost. I only lit the match. You burned him down." I didn't know whether to thank her or fear her. Maybe both. Ethan, meanwhile, wasn't done. From jail, his lawyers screamed about appeals, countersuits, conspiracies. But the evidence was too overwhelming. For once, the truth was louder than his lies. One evening, standing by the Colorado River, I watched the city lights ripple across the water. Austin hummed with the same restless energy, but something in me had shifted. I wasn't the ghost hiding behind code anymore. I wasn't the victim of Ethan's betrayal. I was Seraphine Caldwell, a builder, a fighter, a survivor. And this was just the beginning. Because if I learned anything from Ethan's downfall, it was this. The tech world runs on stories. And from now on, I would make sure mine was heard. 6 months later, Austin looked different to me. The same skyscrapers, the same coffee shops buzzing with young founders. But for me, it wasn't the same battlefield anymore. Ethan was gone from the scene. His name was now shorthand for betrayal, whispered in startup circles as a cautionary tale. Don't pull an Ethan. His trial was still dragging on, but the verdict was inevitable. Investors had abandoned him. Friends had vanished. His empire had rotted to dust. And me, I was still here. For weeks after the takedown, I thought about disappearing, about leaving tech behind, escaping somewhere no one knew my name. But then the messages started coming. A founder who'd lost her patents to a predatory boss. A junior developer erased from her project by a louder colleague. a designer whose portfolio was stolen by her own startup lead. They all said the same thing: your story gave me courage. I realized then, I wasn't just telling my story, I was opening the door for others. With Marisol and Layla at my side, we launched something new: Project Phoenix, a platform for whistleblowers and creators in tech to protect their work, share their voices, and fight back against theft and exploitation. At first, I doubted it. Who would trust me? But within weeks, stories poured in. Journalists picked it up. Suddenly, I wasn't just Seraphine Caldwell, the girl Ethan tried to erase. I was Seraphine Caldwell, the woman who helped others rise from the ashes. Sometimes, late at night, I still thought about Ethan, about the way he sneered, the way he tried to silence me. And sometimes I wondered, had I become stronger because of him, or in spite of him? But when I looked at the messages flooding my inbox, I knew the answer didn't matter. Because revenge had given me justice. But legacy, that was giving me purpose. And this time, I wasn't just surviving. I was building something bigger. Project Phoenix was flying. In just 3 months, we had hundreds of submissions, dozens of success stories, and the beginnings of a movement. Journalists called it the watchdog Silicon Valley never wanted. But success has a price. It started with anonymous threats in my inbox. At first, they were vague. Stop digging. Then they got sharper. You're next. Layla told me to ignore them. Marisol told me to double my security. But deep down, I knew we were making enemies. And not just Ethan's ghost, bigger ones. One night, after a long day, I returned to my apartment. My new apartment. The one no one was supposed to know about. On my desk sat a plain envelope. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No words, just a logo. A falcon, etched in black ink. I frowned. I didn't recognize it, but Marisol's face drained of color when I showed her. That's not random, she whispered. That's Aegis, a private intelligence firm. They protect corporations by destroying threats. If they're watching us, we're in trouble. The word hung heavy. Trouble. That night, as I scrolled through submissions on Phoenix, I saw one that froze me. An anonymous whistleblower had uploaded documents, files too polished, too detailed. They showed surveillance contracts, payments, NDAs, and one name kept repeating: Aegis. And at the bottom of the file, a final chilling line: they're coming for you. I closed my laptop, my chest tight. Revenge against Ethan had given me justice. Building Phoenix had given me purpose. But now, something darker was coming. And this time, the enemy wasn't just one man. It was an entire system. The name Aegis echoed in my head like a warning bell. Ethan was one man, greedy and reckless. But this was an entire machine. Marisol paced the living room, her voice low and sharp. Aegis doesn't play fair. They're not startup scammers or shady VCs. They have ex-military operatives, ex-intelligence officers. If they're circling you, they're not here to scare you. They're here to bury you. Layla hugged her knees on the couch, wide-eyed. So what do we do? Shut Phoenix down? The words cut through me. Shut Phoenix down? After everything? After all the voices that had finally found a place to be heard? No, I said, louder than I meant to. That's exactly what they want. We don't fold. We fight smarter. I opened my laptop, pulling up the anonymous whistleblower's files again. Surveillance contracts, corporate signatures, coded project names. One in particular caught my eye: Project Seraph. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just a coincidence. My name, Seraphine, shortened, twisted, stamped onto a file. They know you, Marisol whispered, peering at the screen. This isn't random. You're not just an annoyance to them. You're a target. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to breathe. Then we find out why. What are they hiding that's worth coming after me for? For the next week, we dug deep. Using Marisol's contacts, Layla's UX research tricks, and my coding, we traced connections. Shell companies, fake boards of directors, offshore accounts tied not just to Ethan, but to other high-profile founders who had mysteriously disappeared from the scene. It was bigger than Ethan, much bigger. One night, while combing through encrypted files, I hit something. A video file, hidden deep in the metadata. I played it. The screen flickered to life. A dimly lit conference room. Men in suits around a table. A voice, distorted, spoke clearly. Control the narrative, silence the risks. If Phoenix keeps growing, shut it down. Then another voice chimed in, one I recognized instantly. Ethan, Layla gasped. He's working with them? Marisol's jaw clenched. Or he was, before he burned out. My stomach twisted. Ethan wasn't just a thief. He was part of something larger, a system designed to protect power by destroying people like me. I closed the laptop, my hands trembling. This isn't about Ethan anymore. This is about everyone who ever dared to tell the truth. And as terrifying as it was, one thing became clear. The war had only just begun. The video haunted me. Ethan's voice, mingling with the distorted orders from that boardroom, told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't up against a single man anymore. I was up against a machine built to silence people like me. We had to move fast. Marisol, Layla, and I set up a secure workspace, a borrowed basement office in East Austin, lined with soundproof panels and air-gapped laptops. It felt like we were running a guerrilla war. Layla scrolled through the whistleblower files again. Look, these contracts aren't just about spying. They're about narrative control. Paid journalists, fake influencers, bots flooding social media. They don't just silence stories, they rewrite them. My stomach twisted. Ethan's spin campaign suddenly made sense. He hadn't been clever. He'd had backing. We debated for hours. How do you fight something this massive? Marisol finally slammed her fist onto the table. We go public, all of it. Not just Ethan, Aegis. We leak the files, the contracts, the video. Shine a light so bright they can't hide. I wanted to believe her, but something inside me hesitated. What if we're too late? What if they're already rewriting our story? And then, as if on cue, it happened. That night, when I checked Phoenix's website, the homepage wasn't ours anymore. It had been hacked. Slick, professional. A banner stretched across the screen. Project Phoenix exposed. Fraudulent platform run by disgruntled coder. My heart slammed against my ribs. Beneath the banner were fake articles, doctored screenshots showing victims who claimed Phoenix stole their data. Even worse, my photo was plastered everywhere, stamped with the word liar. Layla gasped. They've turned it against us. Marisol cursed under her breath. They moved faster than I thought. I scrolled through Twitter, horror flooding me. The smear campaign had already gone viral. Influencers I didn't know were tweeting threads about my scam. Anonymous accounts flooded every post tied to Phoenix, calling us criminals. It felt like the ground was giving way under my feet. I clenched my fists, trying to breathe. If they want war, fine. We'll give them war. But we don't just defend Phoenix anymore. Layla looked at me, her eyes wide. Then what? I met her gaze, my voice low, steady. We burn their whole empire down. The smear campaign burned like wildfire. Every day, more articles about Phoenix spread online. Friends stopped replying. Investors who once praised me ghosted my messages. It was working. I just was rewriting my story. But if they thought I'd go quietly, they didn't know me. Marisol slammed her laptop shut. We can't just sit here. We hit them back. We hack into their system. Drag out everything they don't want the world to see. Layla's face went pale. Hack Aegis? That's suicide. Marisol shot me a look. Sarah, this is the only way. You want to burn their empire. We go inside. I nodded slowly, my fear twisted into resolve. Then we go inside. For 3 nights straight, we prepared. VPN chains stretched across continents. Burner laptops. Layers of encryption stacked like armor. I barely slept. Adrenaline replacing rest. On the 4th night, we went in. The system was brutal. Walls of firewalls, decoy servers, traps designed to lock us out. But Marisol was relentless, her fingers flying. Layla fed us intel, piecing together behavioral patterns from the files. And then we slipped past a gate. A flood of directories opened. Thousands of files, names I recognized. CEOs, politicians, journalists. Aegis wasn't just protecting corporations. They were running a global machine of silence. I clicked into one folder and froze. Project Seraph. Inside were detailed profiles. About me, about Phoenix, about Layla, even Marisol. They knew everything, our addresses, our families, our schedules. Photos of me leaving my apartment. Audio clips of my calls. Layla gasped. They've been listening this whole time. Marisol's jaw tightened. They don't just anticipate us, they study us. But deeper in the folder was something worse. A subfile titled Containment Plan, Caldwell. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, a strategy document, cold and clinical. Plans to destroy my credibility, frame Phoenix as fraudulent, and if necessary, remove me physically. The room went silent. I whispered, my voice barely holding steady. They don't just want to ruin me, they want me gone. And just as the words left my lips, my laptop flickered. A new message appeared on the screen. "We see you?" The connection cut instantly. Our screens went black. Layla screamed. Marisol cursed, yanking cords out. The air in the basement seemed to close in on us. We weren't just hunting Aegis. They were hunting us too. The basement felt smaller after that night. Every shadow on the wall looked like eyes. Every hum of the AC sounded like a wiretap. We weren't just playing hackers anymore. We were targets. Marisol dumped our laptops into a duffel bag. "We have to move, now. If they trace the hack, they know where we are." Layla clutched her phone, pale. "Sarah, my mom just called. A man in a black car has been parked outside her house all day." My stomach dropped. Aegis wasn't just threatening me anymore. They were circling everyone close to me. We abandoned the basement that night, slipping through Austin's quiet streets like fugitives. Marisol led us to a safe house, an old co-worker's empty Airbnb, tucked behind a row of half-finished condos. It wasn't much, but at least the locks worked. For days, we laid low, phones off, curtains drawn. But hiding couldn't last. The smear campaign was still tearing Phoenix apart online. If we didn't strike soon, there'd be nothing left to save. I stared at the wall one night, my voice barely audible. "We're drowning. Every move we make, they're ahead of us. Maybe this is bigger than we can handle." Marisol spun toward me, fire in her eyes. "No, don't you dare say that. You think Aegis is untouchable? They bleed too. We just need the right vein," Layla whispered, almost trembling. "But what if the cost is more than we can pay?" Silence fell. And then, bang! A loud crack split the night. We froze. Another bang followed. The window beside me shattered, shards raining across the floor. Gunshots. We hit the ground, hearts racing. Outside, tires screeched. A car peeled away into the night. I pressed my hand to my chest, forcing air back into my lungs. This wasn't intimidation anymore. They weren't just trying to erase our story, they were trying to erase us. As the sirens wailed in the distance, I crawled toward Marisol. "They want a war?" I whispered, my voice shaking with fury. "Then they've got one." Her eyes met mine. For the first time, I saw fear in her, but also a dangerous kind of resolve. We weren't running anymore. We were fighting to survive. The bullet holes in the safe house walls were still fresh when I made my decision. We couldn't hide anymore. If we kept waiting, Aegis would erase us, offline and off the map. "We strike back," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "No more defense. We go on the offensive." Marisol gave a grim nod. "I know a weak point. Aegis has satellite offices, smaller, less fortified than their HQ. There's one here in Austin, mostly analysts. But more importantly, it's where they store physical archives." Layla's eyes widened. "Wait, you mean break in?" "That's insane." "Insane," Marisol agreed. "But it's the only way we get leverage. Files on paper can't be hacked, can't be erased by a keystroke. If we pull those records, we'll have evidence no smear campaign can touch." My heart pounded. A physical break-in. This wasn't code or screens anymore. This was real-world risk. But after the gunshots, I knew we were already in real danger. For the next 3 nights, we planned. Marisol mapped the building, a bland 3-story office with a fake consultancy sign. Layla scouted security routines. Who smoked outside when the night guard got coffee? And me? I rehearsed what I'd say if we actually pulled this off. How I'd tell the world not just about Ethan, but about Aegis, the monster behind the mask. The night of the mission, Austin hummed with neon and music as if nothing was wrong. But for us, every shadow held weight. We dressed in black, moved fast, hearts thundering. Marisol cracked the side door lock with practiced ease. Inside, the hall smelled of stale coffee and printer ink. We slipped past cubicles, past dark monitors. My breath echoed too loudly in my ears. Finally, we reached a steel door. Archives, authorized only. Marisol knelt, pulling tools from her bag. 2 minutes, she whispered. But before she could finish, a light snapped on down the hall. A voice cut through the silence. Well, well, took you long enough. We spun. A man stepped out of the shadows, suit sharp, smile colder than ice. His badge glinted under the fluorescence. Aegis, waiting for us. My blood froze. This wasn't a break-in anymore. It was a trap. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead. The man in the suit stood calmly at the end of the hall, as if he had been waiting all night for this exact moment. Well, Seraphine Caldwell, he said smoothly, my name rolling off his tongue like poison. You've been busy. My pulse hammered. Hearing my name from his lips sent a shiver down my spine. Marisol stepped forward, her stance protective. Who are you? The man smiled thinly. You can call me Gray. Aegis Liaison. My job is simple. Containment. Containment. The word echoed in my head, the same one from the file. Containment plan, Caldwell. Gray's eyes flicked to the steel archive door behind us. You're clever, I'll give you that. But you think you can outplay us? You've already lost. The narrative is ours. The world already thinks you're a fraud. Anger surged through me, cutting through fear. Then why am I still standing here? If your narrative was enough, you wouldn't need bullets and break-ins. His smile faltered. For the first time, I saw a crack in his composure. Marisol whispered urgently, Sarah, we don't fight here. We get out, now. But it was too late. Two more figures emerged from the shadows. Broad shoulders, black gloves, earpieces glowing faintly. Enforcers. Layla grabbed my hand, panic in her voice. They're going to kill us. Gray's tone turned cold, clinical. Not kill, remove, quietly. You'll just disappear. That's how this works. The hall seemed to shrink around us. My heart pounded. Every instinct screaming that this was the end. But then Marisol made her move. With a sudden motion, she yanked a smoke canister from her bag, slammed it against the floor. A thick, choking fog filled the hall instantly. Alarms wailed, red lights flashing. Run, she shouted. We bolted, coughing, stumbling through the haze. Footsteps thundered behind us, shouts, orders, chaos. My lungs burned, but adrenaline dragged me forward. We crashed through a side exit into the night air. Tires screeched nearby, an Aegis van, headlights blinding. Layla screamed. Marisol yanked her back. I froze, caught in the glare, heart pounding so hard it hurt. And in that moment, one thought carved itself into my mind. We weren't fighting a man anymore. We were fighting an army. We didn't stop running until the Austin skyline was just a blur in the distance. Breathless, clothes torn, we ducked into an abandoned warehouse near the freight lines, the sound of trains masking our gasps. For a long moment, none of us spoke. The only sound was the pounding of my heartbeat in my ears. Finally, Marisol broke the silence. That was no coincidence. They knew we were coming. They were waiting. Her words sank into me like ice. She was right. We had planned carefully. We had stayed invisible. So how the hell did Aegis know? Layla hugged herself, shaking. Maybe they track everything. Cameras, satellites, some AI that predicts. Marisol cut her off, voice sharp. No, prediction doesn't put a man named Gray at the exact door we needed. Someone told them. The word hung heavy between us. Betrayal. I looked at both of them, my chest tightening. Was it paranoia, or was it real? Someone close had to have leaked our move. Layla's eyes widened, tears brimming. You think it's me, after everything? After I've risked my life for this? Her voice cracked, raw with pain. Marisol didn't flinch. You've been careless before, posting from unsecured networks, talking too loudly in cafes. Maybe you didn't mean to, but Aegis doesn't need much. Layla turned away, shoulders trembling. I closed my eyes, exhaustion pressing down. Maybe it wasn't either of them. Maybe it was me. My name, Seraphine, was in their files, stamped across Project Seraph. Maybe I had been the target all along, and everything I touched, Layla, Marisol, Phoenix, was compromised by default. Still, doubt gnawed at me. If they knew our every move, it meant someone in the circle wasn't as loyal as they seemed. And as much as it broke my heart, I couldn't shake the thought. Maybe Aegis wasn't the only enemy. Maybe the betrayal wasn't outside. Maybe it was standing right next to me. The warehouse was too quiet. Every creak of rusted beams felt like a warning. I couldn't look at Layla or Marisol without the question eating me alive. Who betrayed us? I needed answers. So I set a trap. While pretending to sleep, I left my laptop open with a fake folder marked Next Move Phoenix. Inside was a planted file, encrypted but traceable, pointing to a decoy plan for another meeting downtown. Then I waited. The next morning, Layla was pacing, chewing her nails raw. Marisol sat at the table, stone-faced. Neither said a word about the laptop. By evening, my burner phone buzzed. An alert. Someone had accessed the decoy file. I didn't want to believe it, but the IP trace didn't lie. It hadn't come from outside. It had come from inside the warehouse. My throat went dry. That night, I confronted them. Someone here fed Aegis again, and I have proof. Layla's eyes widened in horror. Not me. I swear to God, Sarah, I didn't touch your laptop. Marisol didn't flinch. She leaned back, crossing her arms. Then show us the proof. I projected the trace onto the wall. The room filled with a sickly glow. One IP address. Logged at 2:13 a.m., accessed from inside. Layla shook her head violently, tears brimming. That wasn't me. I was asleep. Ask her. She pointed at Marisol. Marisol's expression didn't change. Calm. Too calm. You're sure you want to do this here, Sarah? She asked softly. Her voice sent a chill down my spine. Because the trace didn't just point to inside the warehouse. It pointed to a specific machine. Marisol's. The silence was unbearable. Layla gasped, her voice breaking. It was you, after everything? You've been feeding them? Marisol finally stood. Her eyes locked on mine. For the first time, her mask cracked. Not anger, not fear, but something almost sorrowful. It's not what you think, she said quietly. I wasn't betraying you. I was protecting you. The words made no sense. Protecting me? By handing our moves to Aegis? I stared at her, my chest burning with rage and confusion. Explain. Now. Her jaw tightened. She opened her mouth. But before she could finish, a sharp sound cut through the night. The screech of tires. Floodlights flooding through the warehouse windows. Aegis. Closing in. The warehouse exploded with light. Flood lamps cut through the broken windows, shadows scattering like cockroaches. Marisol's face was pale, but her eyes burned steady. They're here because of me, she said. Layla recoiled. So it's true. You are the traitor. But Marisol shook her head violently. No, I wasn't betraying you. I was bargaining. Bargaining? The word felt like acid in my mouth. She grabbed my arm, urgent. Listen to me, Sarah. I've been feeding them just enough to keep them from killing us. They wanted you gone weeks ago. I convinced them you weren't a threat, yet. That bought us time. The sound of boots thundered outside. Doors slammed. Voices shouted. The noose was tightening. You think we can believe that? Layla shouted. You risked Phoenix. You risked us. Marisol's eyes flicked between us, desperate. I risked myself. You don't understand. Aegis already owns half this city. Politicians, cops, journalists, they're all on payroll. You think we made it this far without me playing their game a little? My stomach twisted. I didn't want to believe her, but the terror in her voice was real. The warehouse doors buckled with a crash. Enforcers poured in, black armor gleaming, rifles raised. Layla screamed. Marisol shoved a flashbang from her bag, pulling the pin with her teeth. No time! You want proof I'm on your side? Watch. She hurled it. The blast cracked like thunder, blinding light and sound tearing through the warehouse. Enforcers stumbled, shouting, disoriented. Go! Marisol bellowed. We sprinted through the smoke, lungs burning. I dragged Layla toward the back exit, my heart pounding like it would burst. Behind us, Marisol fired off another round of cover. Shouts, gunfire, chaos. We crashed through a side door into the night air, sprinting down an alley. Headlights flashing somewhere behind us. Layla clutched my arm, gasping. She stayed back. She's buying us time. I choked on the words, my chest tearing. Was she saving us? Or was this just another game she was playing with Aegis? Either way, one truth rang in my head. We couldn't run forever. And if Marisol lived through this night, I would need the truth from her, every last bloody piece of it. Layla and I didn't stop running until dawn painted the sky gray. We found shelter in a crumbling motel on the outskirts, where the flickering neon sign hummed like a broken heartbeat. Neither of us spoke for hours. We just sat, breathing in silence, waiting for the world to end. But it didn't, not yet. By noon, my burner buzzed. A single message, no number, just words. South Bridge, midnight, come alone. M. Layla read over my shoulder, horrified. It's a trap. Maybe it was. But if Marisol had survived the raid, She was either still fighting for us, or she had crossed the final line. I had to know. At midnight, I stood beneath the South Bridge, the Colorado River black and endless beneath me. The air was sharp, heavy with rain. And then she stepped out of the shadows, Marisol, alive, bruised, bloodied, but standing. Her eyes locked onto mine. No games now, just truth. They wanted me to hand you over, she said. Her voice was hoarse, raw. But I couldn't. I gave them scraps, Sarah, just enough to buy time, but last night, I made my choice. I clenched my fists. Then tell me, who are you really? Friend, enemy, or something in between? Marisol took a long breath. Once, I was theirs. Aegis. They recruited me out of college, trained me, used me. But I walked away when I realized what they were. They don't let people walk away, Sarah. That's why they came after me too. My chest tightened. The betrayal wasn't betrayal at all. It was survival. She had been fighting 2 wars, against Aegis and against the doubt she knew would eat us alive. Layla stepped from the shadows, voice breaking. So all this time, you were trying to keep us alive. Marisol's face cracked into the faintest, saddest smile. Alive and loud enough to matter. Suddenly, headlights cut through the rain. Aegis vans again, rolling slow. We were cornered. But this time, I didn't feel fear. I felt fire. I pulled the hard drive from my bag, the one with every file, every secret we had pulled from Aegis before the trap. We end it tonight. Marisol's eyes widened. Sarah, if you leak that, there's no going back. They'll come for you forever. I met her gaze, steady. They already do. With trembling hands, I connected to the live Phoenix network, broadcasting the files in real time. Contracts, videos, names, everything. Phones lit up across the city. Journalists, activists, ordinary people. The silence Aegis built for decades began to crack. Gunfire echoed in the distance. The vans closed in. But the upload was already at 100%. I smiled through the rain. They wanted to erase me. Instead, I made sure they'll never erase the truth. Marisol gripped my shoulder, steady. Layla clung to my arm, trembling but unbroken. The first spotlight hit us, blinding. Voices shouted, footsteps thundered. And for the first time in months, I felt calm. Because win or lose, I had already taken back my story. And this time, I wasn't alone.